Hello everyone and welcome to Geopolitical Trends. My name is David Oualaalou. So good to be with you. Is Hungary, the country of Hungary of course in Europe, stepping out of the European Union? In today's video, I am going to provide you a brief analysis about this particular topic, which by the way, the mainstream media on both sides of the Atlantic are not covering it at all, by design. But before I'll delve deeper into this topic, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like and the notification button so you will be notified every time I upload a new video. So here's the thing. Hungary is stepping out of the EU. To some, that may come as a shock. To others may say, wait a minute, this is the possibility of that, given what's going on with the European energy crisis. So today, this is what I am going to be focused on the parts that have not been disclosed in detail. Well, Viktor Orban, the head of the Hungarian government, is now sort of fed up. I'll use the term. He is fed up with the attitude of the European Union emanating from Brussels. And the reason for that, because the EU is keep trying sort of tactics to outmaneuver him and outdo his country, basically, when it comes to its membership in the EU. And yet, this approach, the approach of the EU, has not succeeded thus far. So it's not resulting in anything that is good. So the EU, the European Union, has attempted to pioneer, if I may say, use the term, new tensions with Hungary, by, for example, declaring it that the country, Hungary, is no longer a democracy, and I put this in quote. Why is this? Because it's very interesting how each time you hear the term democracy, because it's used so loosely to the point that it's lost its appeal. It's same thing with human rights and human dignity. And like I said in the previous video about the forgotten war in Yemen, do we hear anything about it? And yet the West is claiming about this standing for morality and human rights. So why aren't the West sort of acting on behalf of the human dignity in Yemen? It's no different than here. So the European Parliament, basically part of the EU, is saying, well, a minute, Hungary is not a democratic country. Interesting. They didn't say that last year or the year before. It's only when Hungary, Budapest, or the Hungarian government start to look after its own interest. And Viktor Orban was saying, I don't agree to what you guys doing regarding the sanctions because it's harming my country when it comes down to energy. So do we blame him for looking out after his own country? It's just ironic. So Orban, of course, doesn't see this statement as some sort of a simple language, playing a joke, or whatever you want to call it. No. It's a serious. It's because he sort of wanted to put an end to this nonsense, and rightly so. But that now he is in position to elevate his game against the EU. Well, also what happened with the Britain, UK, when he left the European Union. So, because here's the thing, what you need to know is that exiting the EU, there will be some contractual and some other issues so what Orban is hoping for is to leave the EU sort of without any major controversy, which is a smart move. That's what you will expect. So let me give you at least a background of how it's all evolved. Well, a few weeks ago, when I say a few weeks ago, to be specifically, it happened in September, around September 10th or 12th of this year, of course, the Hungarian ruling party organized what they called the Fidesz picnic in Kos, the area called Kos. And I will provide you, of course, a link to all this. Well, this location is next to the lake of Balaton, if I'm not mistaken. I remember I used to travel to Eastern Europe from or Romania, Poland, and some others, but I've never been in Hungary, and Czechoslovakia. That was always my wish to visit there. So the prime minister usually in this annual, it's an annual picnic. So this one where the prime minister, officials from the administrations, lawmakers, academicians, and anybody else that is affiliated with the feds, including academics, businessmen, and artists, they all attend the meeting. It's like once a year gathering. And usually what happened with this annual meeting, usually it has been a tradition that in Kash, to advise participants to keep all the information confidential, because it's not open to just whomever. You can't just walk into the picnic here, And the reason to keep that confidential and to refrain from talking about the discussions at the picnic. So it's kind of internal discussions that stays there. Only journalists and the journalists that have been granted a free pass are allowed to question attendees, as they enter and exit the events on the street. So now, this meeting followed the same code as it was expected. However, some information has come to light, and specifically when it comes down to Orban statements that his recognitions of the EU action is one of such crucial factors. And basically what it is that Hungary is now contesting its status within the EU, because the EU is not treating Hungary as a full member. That's his argument. So Hungary raised questions about this involvement, or their involvement to the EU, that is. So according to Telex, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has spoken about what is the point of the EU membership if we can benefit from it. And they also addressed the disintegration of the EU. Yeah, you heard me. The disintegration of the EU. It's almost like it's coming to an end. And I've been saying this for quite a while. The beginning of the end of the Western hegemony is coming to an end. So now, Orban wants to recheck Hungary's membership in the EU. And he added that if Hungary doesn't get a positive answer, the conclusion will be drawn. You all know what it means. It means that Hungary will leave the EU. Well, Orban made it clear that he intends to have Hungary leaving the EU by 2030, which is about 7 years from now. And that will be a good decision, as the EU itself is poised to fall apart. That's coming from a member. So that tells you right there. So the report states that Orban believes that the Ukraine war could drag on until 2030 or even beyond. As I always say, guys, remember the trend to look where this is headed. So, and of course, if it drags on to 2030, with Ukraine losing almost up to 1/3 or to half of its territory, because that's going to be a fait accompli, no matter whether the West likes it or not. Orban also added that the war have been local. The war would have been local if the West did not step in, render it or making it a global. And now, as we all know, the EU, the European Union, is shooting itself in the foot by embarking on the sanctions that now we all see what the outcome of it is. And I released a video on that one, a brief one that is, regarding the economic demise of the EU, or the upcoming one that is. So the sanctions are not working anyway, And because 40% of the European industries will be shut down as winter gets closer by the end of this year. And the other aspect to all this that you need to put in trend is that why all of a sudden Orban voicing that his country will leave the EU? It's because Orban sees his country that is aimed to be a major economic power in Eastern Europe, especially after leaving the EU, because Hungary wishes to see developments, of course, of similar style to that of China. Is that means that there is a conversation between Hungary and China? That's a possibility. So here is the thing. For the first time, EU MP, which is the member of the European Parliament, have declared a member state to be not a proper democracy. That's ludicrous. This is why Hungary is seeing it as time to leave, and they're gonna work their way out slowly for them to get out of the EU altogether. So here's my conclusion to you. Orban seems to already had a plan in place to outgun the EU because they're trying to outmaneuver him. And given that the press was not permitted to cover the events, everything remained sort of secret, that is. Which is good in my opinion. If he has a plan, he needs to keep it to himself. Of course, his people needs to know about it, but that in due time. And without any doubt, Hungary will feel more at ease if it leaves the EU. Perhaps it would even create a disaster precedent for Brussels because more other countries will follow suit. And I do predict that coming. So the move, in my opinion, the move of leaving the EU will embolden, for example, other countries to leave the EU, like Poland, for example. So this is where I see it going. So here's my question for you for today. Is the EU on the cusp of collapse? Let me repeat that. Is the EU on the cusp of collapse? Make sure, let me know what you think and just leave me some comments and I will answer this one. As always, guys, remember, geopolitics impacts your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time. Bye-bye.